I've compiled 100 tips and tricks for Palworld and put them all in this one video. There's so much to do in this game, but there's also so much that you would never even think about unless you watch a video like this. From the best pals to capture, base building tips, getting lots of loot, and secret advice you never knew before. We will be covering it all in this one video. And without wasting any time, tip 1. Most pals sleep during the night. However, pals of the dark type will work 24/7. But you do have to ensure you have a well-optimized base if you want them to work around the clock, as they will quickly get depressed and weakened without the proper care. You can assign a Vixie to work at a ranch, and she will dig up a ton of pal spheres. And these pal spheres will help you level up and catch pals early in the game. But once you start progressing later in the game, standard pal spheres won't be enough to capture the high level pals you encounter. Now what you can do is buff a Vixie by putting them in the condenser to level up her partner skill. And then once you get her partner skill to level 4, she will start to drop mega spheres. And these mega spheres will help you catch much stronger pals, and it will save you a ton of time as you don't need to be constantly crafting spheres. By default, you can have 500 pals in your pal box at once. This might seem like a lot, but once you start getting later into the game, the amount of pals you have really starts to stack up. But if you want to capture even more pals, there is a trick you can utilize. You want to unlock and then place some viewing cages. Then you can put all of your extra pals in there to free up some space in your pal box. Each viewing cage has 40 slots, but you can make as many of them as you like. And one thing I would recommend is to not put the viewing cage in your main base, as filling it up with pals will quickly cause your game to lag. Now I didn't figure out this next trick until I almost completely beat the game. You can place custom markers on the map. All you need to do is open up the map and then click E if you're on mouse and keyboard, X if you're on Xbox, or square if you're on PlayStation, and it will bring up a marker menu. You can choose out of any of these custom markers you like. I like to use the star to mark skill fruit trees, the pickaxe to mark good mining locations, the bread for settlements, and then the symbol with the horns to mark the dungeon location. Do not waste your time or resources crafting a parachute or a glider. Instead, at level 23, you want to unlock the Gale Claw glove, and then of course capture a Gale Claw. Then as long as you have them in your party, you will have the best glider in the game. Just look at this. The standard parachute is terrible. It's way too slow and it takes you nowhere. Then when you see the Gale Claw glider, it is so much better. Now that you have the Gale Claw gloves, you can take advantage of this next trick to easily destroy your enemies without taking much damage. You can shoot while using your glider. Now this is super helpful as you can move fast without limiting your damage output. This next tip is extremely important, so listen up. You pretty much only want to use your stat points to level up your health and your weight. You only get 49 stat points throughout the game, and once you're at level 50, there is no possible way to get any more. As you can see, I have over 3,000 health, and this makes boss fights much easier for me, and I have over 1,000 weight capacity, which also makes farming materials a lot more efficient. Don't overbuild your first base. Unless you find the perfect base location right off the bat, you are likely going to want to move it to a location with more resources. And spending all of your time making your base look good only to leave it not long after will be a huge time sink. I'd recommend making the bare minimum that you need to start off, and then making a more aesthetically pleasing base once you find your perfect location. Pay attention to your pals' passive skills so they can have a huge effect on how they perform. And don't just glance at their names, hover over them so you can see exactly what they do. If you ever find yourself making a high level enemy angry at you, the easiest way to escape is to run to a fast travel location and then teleporting somewhere else. Afterwards, you can fast travel back and they should either be despawned or they should be friendly again. If you want to level up fast, the best thing you could do is capture 10 of every type of pal species. Then once you capture more than 10, you will stop gaining XP. Be careful where you place your campfires in your base, as your pals can walk into them and catch fire. And then depending on your server settings, these pals that catch fire can spread the fire to wooden objects and burn down your entire base. So once you reach level 17, I highly recommend you build a cooking pot so your pals no longer catch fire. You should create temporary sleeping places around the map so you don't need to teleport home every single night. You can also quickly dismantle it afterwards and get all the materials back, which you can use to make a temporary home the next night. You can use fox sparks as a light source if you're out at night. It can get extremely dark at night where you can't see anything, so having a fox sparks is a huge help. You can auto stack items into your storage. All you need to do is open up your storage and then click R on mouse and keyboard, or the right bumper if you're on controller. And then it will automatically move your items from your inventory into the storage as long as there is already one of those items in the storage. Then if you find yourself dying and then respawning without any of your loot, go to the place you died, open the death chest, and then click X on mouse and keyboard, or push down on your left thumbstick on controller to instantly move everything into your inventory. This is especially helpful if you died somewhere where there are a lot of hostiles, or you're taking cold or heat damage. Try to capture a Nightwing as soon as you can. Nightwing is the first flying mount you can capture, and once you have the ability to fly, it makes many aspects of the game way easier. But once you unlock the capability to fly, there are a few tricks that you need to know. You can regen stamina for your flying mount on water. So if you're trying to get across the map, you don't need to worry about falling into the water and then drowning if you're on a flying mount. Now this applies to flying mounts only. If you have a mount that is both ground and flying, then it won't be able to gain any stamina over the water. The pals in your base will eventually get depressed, weakened, and injured if they aren't taken care of properly. One thing you could do to help out your pals is to give them food that gives them sanity. If you look at normal red berries, which is probably what you're feeding your pals right now, it gives them no sanity points whatsoever. Now you can cook them and it will give them 1 sanity point, but this is still not great. What I recommend is to make a tomato and a lettuce plantation so that you can make salad. And the salad will provide your pals with 11 sanity, keeping them much healthier and happier over time. Some foods will also buff your stats. For example, the Mozzarella cheeseburger will increase you or your pals attack damage by 20%. There are also foods to increase defense, pal sanity, and work speeds. Never use the implode skill on your pal. It looks good at first and it does a lot of damage, but it just isn't worth it as they will blow themselves up and defeat themselves instantly. Also, if you have a bee guard in your base, make sure you remove the be quiet active skill, otherwise it will blow up and destroy your base. If you are over encumbered and you can't move very fast, use a grappling hook to get around quickly. Then if you still need to go further, you can open up your inventory and move the grappling hook in and out of your weapon slot and it will reset the cooldown. Then an even faster method, if you know you're going to be over encumbered often or you need to go long distances, is to have multiple grappling hooks equipped at once. Now you will need each grappling hook to be a different rarity, otherwise they will share the same cooldown timer. And then you just keep on cycling through the grappling hooks to get around the map. If you hear a twinkling sound and see one of these sparkling pals, these are lucky pals. Do everything in your power to capture it as they are very rare and come with one of the best passive skills in the game. If one of your pals gets defeated, there is a trick to instantly revive it. All you need to do is go to a viewing cage, move it into the cage, and then move it back into your party and the pal will come back to life. If you go into your survival guide and scroll towards the bottom, you will find an elements page. If you click on this page where you can see all of the different elements in Palworld, the arrows indicate which elements are strong against the other element. As you can see, fire is the only element that is strong against 2 different element types, and in my opinion, this makes fire the best in the game. If you're enjoying this video so far, drop a like and subscribe as these 100 tips and tricks videos take a very long time to make, which is why you see nobody else making them. You can capture humans with your pal spheres. Okay, it is inhumane, but I'd still recommend it. You can even capture merchants and the black marketer and use them in your base. If you do decide to capture a black marketer in your base, there is a trick to reset the pals he has for sale. Super simple, all you need to do is put them into your pal box and then assign him to your base and it will reset what he has for sale. And you can keep on doing this until you find the exact pal with the exact passive you are looking for. Always make sure you have multiple supporting structures for anything important you are building. If you only have one supporting structure and it gets destroyed, then everything that it is holding up will come crumbling down with it. Now for this next tip, it might seem obvious, but 90% of players don't use it often enough. Make sure you are rolling to dodge attacks. For most of the pal attacks, you will see the attack coming before it hits you, and simply tapping your roll button is an easy way to keep yourself from taking unnecessary damage. If you want to max out your capture rate, then you are going to need a lot of lift monk effigies. The fastest way that I found that you can gather these lift monk effigies is to go out at night on a flying mount. All of the lift monk effigies will stand out with their bright green glow and they will be easy to find. You can also change the nighttime speed to 0.1 in your world settings. This will give you some more time to find all the lift monk effigies you need. Make sure you are organizing your storages so you don't need to be constantly searching for specific items. For example, I have these refined metal chests where the only thing I put in them is skill fruit. And I also have this chest where I keep all my pal souls. Setting your chest up like this will save you a lot of time in the long run, so you should try to get everything organized from the get-go. If you want ancient technology points, there is one way to get them. Every time you defeat a boss for the first time, you will receive 1 or 2 ancient technology points, depending on which one you go for. This goes for both the open world bosses and the dungeon bosses. If you die early into your playthrough on a new world, you can choose a different spawn location to unlock fast travel to that location. This is so useful that the first thing that I do on a new world is force respawn until I activate all of the free fast travel locations. You will also gain a technology point for every fast travel you unlock, so it is an easy way to get a head start in the game. If you are trying to capture pals, make sure you command your pal not to attack or call them back so they don't kill the pal you're trying to capture. If you want your base to be as optimal as possible, make sure it is completely flat. Pals tend to bug out and get stuck on surfaces that aren't completely flat, so keep it nice and simple to avoid this from happening. This next tip will help you out whenever you're looking for a specific pal. You can see a pal spawn location in your pal deck. All you need to do is find the pal in the pal deck and then click on habitat. The orange areas are all the possible spawn locations for that specific pal. If you don't see any orange, then it's most likely a nighttime only pal, in which case you want to click on the moon symbol in the bottom right and it will show the spawn locations in blue for you. Early game, one of the best pals you can capture are Cativas. For every Cativa in your party, you can get an extra 50 weight capacity. 50 might not sound like a lot, but with 5 of them in your party at once, that's an extra 250, which is almost double what you start with. Whenever you find items that say can be sold to a merchant for a higher price, these items are made specifically to be sold. Don't worry about saving them as they aren't used in any crafting recipes and the only purpose they have is to give to merchants for some easy gold. If you want a more passive way of farming gold, this next tip is for you. Capture Mao and assign them to your ranch. They will endlessly graze and provide you with a ton of gold coins. You can increase a pal sphere's capture rate by throwing the spheres at the pal's back. You can also increase the capture rate with status effects. For example, if you use a stun baton to stun the enemy, then it will increase your capture rate. Or you can freeze an enemy with one of your pals and it will also increase the capture rate. Use your grappling hook and then use your glider afterwards to carry the momentum and get really far really fast. If you want to mine things faster, craft a dig toys headband and then throw dig toys at whatever you want to mine and they will speed up the process significantly. You can use ranged weapons while on mount, which is very handy a lot of the time. Your pal abilities will be on cooldown, but you can still deal damage by using your weapon. Using a ranged weapon on mount will also give you bonus elemental damage and a status effect depending on which pal you're using. For instance, I am dealing a lot more damage while I am on Frostallion here as I am dealing ice damage and the dragon type is weak to ice damage. Or here when I'm using Univolt, which deals electric damage and it also stuns the enemies. Keep an extra pal box available so you can create a disposable base wherever and whenever you want. You can then use this base to easily fast travel from any location. Change your pal's abilities. Pal abilities matter more than the pals themselves. If you have a Chickpea with the best abilities in the game, they are probably going to do more damage than if you have a legendary pal with the worst skills in the game, assuming they are the same level. You can quickly repair all of your items at once at the repair bench. All you need to do is click R on your keyboard, Y on Xbox, or triangle on PlayStation. If all of this information seems like a lot to remember, I can't blame you. 100 tips and tricks is a lot for one video, which is why I recommend saving this video to a watch later playlist so you can come back to it whenever you need a refresher. Daydream's necklace allows you to keep them out at all times as long as they're in your party. And the cool thing is that you can have multiple of them out at the same time and they will all attack the enemy, which can be a very powerful strategy. You can also use Floppy's necklace to have them out at all times. And the nice thing about Floppy is that they will automatically seek out and pick up items on the ground for you. If you are getting later into the game and you need more technology points, there is one trick that I love to use to get them easily. All you need to do is fly to one of these 3 sanctuaries around the map. Then you want to open up the purple chest and hope you get technical manuals. Then if you go into your inventory, you can use these manuals to get free technology points. Always have both heat and cold armor in your inventory. Then you can quickly switch between them whenever you need to. This will save you a lot of time if you tend to find yourself going around the map often. But you actually don't need any armor to protect yourself from the heat or the cold if you take advantage of this next tip. Use Kitsen as a mount to protect you from temperature effects. As long as you are on a Kitsen, you won't take any damage from heat or cold. You can use food bags so you and your pals in your party automatically eat when they are hungry. You might think this is just a quality of life item, but I highly recommend it, as it allows you to go AFK without worrying about you or your pals starving as long as you have enough food in your food bag. You can use Lily's spear and the sword as an axe and a pickaxe. And the nice thing is that they are both much more effective. So once you're able to craft them, you never need to carry an axe or a pickaxe ever again. You can defeat the black marketer to gain a ton of gold coins. And there is a trick to do this easily without getting yourself killed. All you need to do is place a hanging trap beside the black marketer, trick him to walk into it. And then you want to build a campfire underneath him. This should cause the black marketer to catch fire, then all you have to do is wait and get a ton of free, easy gold coins. If you aren't sure if you have captured a certain pal yet, all you need to do is hold the pal sphere while aiming at the pal and it will say new if you haven't captured one yet. The building mechanics in Palworld are a bit finicky at the moment, especially when it comes to placing down stairs. One trick that I found that makes placing stairs much easier is to climb above where you want the stairs placed, then it should allow you to rotate and place them down. Every single pal has its own unique individual values, also known as stat IVs. What this means is that each pal, even if it is of the exact same species and has the same passive, they will have a different health stat, a different attack stat, and a different defense stat. These values can vary around 30% up or down. If you're trying to create the best pals possible, stat IVs are definitely something you want to look out for. Of course, ranged weapons like the bow and arrows and the guns can deal headshot damage, but many players don't know that melee weapons can also deal headshot damage. This next tip is by far the fastest way to get a lot of gold once you're mid to late game. For this, the first thing you want to do is make an automated ore farm and make sure you have a merchant capture. Then you want to make as many nails as possible out of ingot. Each ingot will allow you to craft 2 nails. Then you can sell these nails to merchants for 160 gold each, which can really add up fast if you're crafting thousands of nails at a time. You can use different type of element abilities on your palette. It doesn't have to follow the respective element. For example, Jetragon is a dragon type and dragon types are weak to ice. So I put it on a fire ability to help my Jetragon Pokemon fight against ice types a little bit better. You can condense pals to level them up and make them significantly stronger. You can condense each pal up to 4 times, and if you're wondering, it takes 116 condensed pals of a single pal type to get one pal up to tier 4. If you craft a repair kit, instead of going around repairing everything in your base by yourself, which will take a lot of time, you can craft the repair kits and put them into the storage in your base, and then your pals will automatically use them to repair the base for you. You can force your pals to transport items into a cooler. Do this by filling the extra slots in the feed box with non-perishable food like honey or cotton candy. Prioritize unlocking and crafting shields. They essentially give you extra health in the form of shields, and they automatically repair themselves after a few seconds of not taking damage. So shields will make it much easier to stay alive, and you won't need to worry about your health as much. But if you do ever find yourself getting low on health, this next tip will help you recover quickly. Once you're able to, always keep a Lilene in your party and bring them out whenever you get low, as the partner ability will quickly restore 1000 health for you. You can also keep multiple Lilenes in your party if you want to use their partner ability multiple times. Or you can even use the Pal Condenser to level up your Lilene's partner skill, which will increase the amount of health you're restored. You can get passive skills that increase the movement speed of pals, and this will also increase their speed while using them as a mount. But the passive movement speed skills don't seem to have any effect on glider pals like Gale Claw. If you are riding a pal, there is no fall damage whatsoever. Even when I jump all the way from the top of this cliff, I won't take any damage, and neither will my pal. I wouldn't use the homing sphere on flying pals as it doesn't work too well, and oftentimes the pal sphere will completely disappear. When assigning pals to your base, pals with only 1 or 2 jobs are usually best, as they don't get distracted nearly as often as pals with multiple different jobs. Don't let the rarity of skill fruit affect your decision on which one you're going to use. A lot of the time, the lower rarity skills are actually better as they have a much shorter cooldown time, allowing your pals to use them repeatedly. What I like to do is have 2 high damage, long cooldown skills on my pal, then also have 1 skill with a short cooldown so they can use that while the others are recharging. If you want to passively level up your pals, have them in your party at all times. Even if you never ever use them, they will gain XP with you. Use the training dummy to see how much damage each of your weapons can do and how much of an effect certain buffs have to your damage output. If you want the best items in the game, you're going to need to find legendary schematics. You can get them by defeating the alpha bosses around the map, and each one has a specific schematic they drop. Now these drops are very rare, but they can also be very strong. For instance, the normal assault rifle is pretty good with 320 attack. Now the legendary schematic has 560 attack, which is 75% more damage. If you are anything like me, you have your eye on those legendary schematics, but you don't want to spend nearly as much time finding them. What I recommend is to capture the boss, as every time you capture, there's a chance they drop the schematic, and then butcher that boss you captured, as it gives you a second chance of getting the schematic to drop. If you want to go lucky hunting, go to your world settings and change the pal appearance rate to 3. This will cause groups of pals to spawn rather than just 1 or 2 by themselves, and this will quite literally make finding a lucky pal 3 times easier. If you are still early into the game, use Rush Boar and its saddle to mine quicker. All you need to do is ride the Rush Boar and then use a Reckless charge ability at the resource you want to get a lot of it quickly. And the nice thing is that the Reckless charge ability has basically no cooldown, so you can keep on using it over and over again. Once you start getting to the mid game, you need to craft a lot of cement, and to do that you need pal fluids, which you can only get from defeating or capturing water type pals. Now what I find is by far the quickest way to gather pal fluids is to travel to Gobfin's turf and keep on running around killing the Gobfins until you have all the pal fluids you need. If you find yourself with way too many pals and a lot that you don't need, sell the extra pals to the black marketer for some easy gold coins. So lucky pals are obviously very hard to find, and they have one of the best passive skills in the game. Now did you know that you can breed lucky pals to pass on the passive skill? The offspring won't technically be a lucky pal, and they're the same size as an ordinary pal, but they will have the lucky passive skill, which is great for both attack pals and working pals. If you want to enhance your pals, you are going to need a lot of medium pal souls. Now luckily for you, there's an easy and quick way to find a ton really fast. All you need to do is go to the upper right desert area of the map and then fly around and open up all of the gold chests you find. And in a good chunk of these chests, you will get medium pal souls. The really nice thing about this is that the chests are very easy to find, as the area is completely wide open. Skill fruits will respawn after a few in-game days, and the skill fruit trees are always in the exact same spot. And that's why I recommend marking them on your map so you can keep on checking them for the skills you were looking for. If you want to find one of the best pals in the game fairly early on, then follow this next tip. You're going to want to take a flying pal and fly around this area of the map. What you are looking for is a huge dragon egg. Then if you find one from this area, you are in luck, as when you incubate it, you will get a German Tide Ignis, which is a high damage dealing pal, and it also has level 4 kindling, which lets you refine and cook things very quickly. Ammo is one of the most annoying things to craft in game, as it requires a lot of ingots and gunpowder. So what I do and what I recommend all of you to do is to get your ammo from wandering merchants. And once you capture one that sells ammo and you have some good gold farming going on, this should be much easier than constantly having to craft it. So normally when you put cake into storage, you have about 20 minutes until it expires and disappears. But then if you put it into a breeding farm chest, it will never expire, even if you have no pals currently assigned to the farm. This next trick will help you when you need materials to craft outside of your home base. Of course, you only have access to the materials in your storage while you're at your base, but there is a quick way to get these materials into your inventory without needing to search for where you have them stored. All you need to do is build one of the things you want inside of your base, then cancel or destroy it, and the building materials needed for that specific item will be moved into your inventory. Then you can go outside of your base and you'll have the exact amount of materials that you need. Pals eat from left to right in the feed box, so make sure you have whatever you want them to be eating in the spot furthest over to the left. Now you do have to be intentional on where you are placing your feed box in your base, as it will greatly impact how productive your pals are. So what I recommend is to put your feed box into the center of your base so it's easy for them to get to it no matter where they are. This next one I wish I knew when I first started playing. Crafting pal items like saddles don't go into your inventory, and they also don't have any weight. As soon as you craft and pick up one of these items, they will go into your key items page, where they will automatically be put into use without you needing to take any additional action. It's also worth noting that crafting one saddle will allow you to use that saddle on every single pal of that species in the game, and you don't need to craft a new one for every pal you capture. I mentioned not too long ago about how annoying it is to craft gunpowder. This next tip will help you get a lot of it quickly without needing to do any crafting whatsoever. What you want to do is go to this area of the map and either defeat or capture Toko Toko. They drop gunpowder almost every time. I only recently discovered this next tip, but you can dismantle your base from your map. Even if you are completely across the world, you can dismantle your base from your map. This will allow you to build a new pal box wherever you are. This next tip is one of my favorites, as it is simply way too much fun. When you throw a pal sphere and start capturing a pal, climb on top of the pal sphere and it will launch you up into the sky. Just make sure you have a glider handy or you might have a very bad fall. So having a lamb ball, a cremis, or a melpaca assigned to a ranch is nice, as it gets you a ton of wool. However, once you get later into the game, you need high quality wool, which is why you need to capture and assign a Sibilix to your ranch, as they drop the high quality wool. Tip 100. You need to know the best base locations if you want to be successful in the game, which is why you need to watch this video of all the best base locations in Palworld. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.